You shouldn't be here. This should have gone differently. Ended more quickly. I can only imagine your pain and confusion. But know this. What's happening to you is part of something bigger. Something older than anything known. It's our task to placate the Ancient Ones. As it's yours to be offered up to them. Forgive us, and let us get it over with.
Happy Halloween, and welcome to What Makes It Scary, a seasonal podcast unleashing your fear behind your favorite and not so favorite horror movies. I'm your host, Jody Henderson of Clever Girl Effects Studios, and yes, that is the last time that I will say that name. And with me, as always, is Alex Vincent of Mr. Red Productions.
I have a theory about all this.
Oh, I didn't know Marty was here.
Hello and welcome.
Funny, you're not as buff as Marty.
That's true. That is true. He's a surprisingly buff dude.
Hey, you're not Marty.
Oh, sorry.
You're Alex.
I dropped the voice. Hello and welcome to the last episode.
The last episode of season 3.
The last episode ever, let's face it.
No, don't say that.
All right, well, we'll be back next year. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Oh, man.
Phew. But yeah,
and what a season it's been.
It's wow, Jody. Let me tell you, we've hit some high peaks and some low peaks.
Some Twin Peaks?
No, unfortunately.
Oh,
not
okay.
this week.
Oh,
Twin Peaks watch. It's been a good run.
It
for
has.
Twin Peaks watch. Twin Peaks is a show, and this is a movie. So that's all.
No correlation.
No correlation. We won't talk about it. But yeah, we've gone through a lot this season.
yeah. I mean, think back. We started with like The Purge.
Oh, geez, that feels like forever ago.
I know.
Remember when we did The Purge?
Yeah.
Jesus.
We got through all that. Watched a bunch of bad horror movies.
God, yeah. We watched a bunch of bad horror movies. Then we did our episode on the worst horror movies.
Right. And then we did classics.
Yeah.
And then now we're ending with kind of all of it today.
Really, it is.
Today, we are talking about one movie, which I don't think we've ever done before on the show. We are talking about The Cabin in the Woods.
2012. Picture it.
I picture it. It was our first year together.
Yeah, this was one of the first movies we saw in theaters together. That's nice.
Yep, after the Lorax.
Yeah.
This has a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's a lot of potatoes.
It's also a lot of potato.
Rotten potatoes.
What's
yeah.
worse, Rotten Tomatoes or Rotten Potatoes?
I mean,
I would say Rotten Potatoes.
Rotten tomatoes have a lot of water in them, and water just gets all gross when it gets, I don't know.
I guess, but like when you have Thanksgiving and then the mashed potatoes sit out for too long and then they just fucking stink.
Well, sure, they get all hard and weird, but
They stink.
rotten mashed potatoes be different
Anyway.
What, this isn't what you want to do the whole episode on?
No,
Okay.
it's not. So yeah, Cabin in the Woods.
All right. This is a good movie.
Yeah, we saw this together.
Uh-huh.
Actually, you saw it twice in theaters. I think
Yeah.
you saw it before me.
I did, and I was like, we need to see this movie.
Yeah, and
I didn't tell you anything about it.
You didn't. And I had seen the commercials and I had made some assumptions.
Yeah.
And I, to this day, think my assumptions are better
Yeah.
than what the movie actually was.
We'll talk about it.
Not saying that this movie's bad at all, because
Right.
it's not. But yeah, that's kind of our history with it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't know Cabin in the Woods, first of all,
What the hell are you
what are
doing?
you
Do
listening
yourself
to
a
this
favor.
episode for? Yeah.
Yeah. Do yourself a favor. This is definitely a movie that you need to go in completely spoiler free.
Yeah.
You need to go in and watch the movie, and I'm not going to say anything more about it until you do.
Just do it.
We're not going to record the rest of this episode
No.
until you tweet at us to let us know that you've seen the movie
And that you're
Then-
ready to move on.
and that you're ready to move on.
Okay.
Until then, we sit here in silence.
And we will.
We probably should talk about Joss Whedon while we're doing this.
We can.
Just briefly.
Okay, I'll tell you that I don't like Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
And I almost did just say Josh Whedon.
Josh Whedon, right. There was a time where I was a huge
Yes,
Joss Whedon
and
fanboy.
it was very annoying.
I would not say it was annoying.
It was very
I would say
annoying.
it was charming and cute.
It was witty and snappy. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, in a good way.
No, not in a good way.
And as times have gone on, there has been news and things that have come out about certain individuals that's less than cool, I'll say. and that all sucks. And I would say that I'm not so much a fan of Joss Whedon these days as an individual. But his writing style I've always been a fan of. It gets a lot of heat for being too too written and too quippy. Like the quips are a huge thing that people have a big problem with, and just his writing style people don't like. And I'll say I do enjoy it. I like the way that he writes his characters, and I'm not ashamed to admit that.
Yeah, it's so hard because people are so terrible nowadays, especially, and that we know everything bad that everyone has ever done.
Yeah,
which is great that we can find that out. But it's like a true test for all of us. It's like, do we as a society separate the art from the artist?
Yeah.
And just appreciate the art for what it is? Or can we not because the artist was so bad?
Yeah.
People have had this with Ren and Stimpy, and now Five Nights at Freddy's is even in that camp, and just all that type of stuff. How do you feel about it?
Well, when it comes to a movie like this or some big production, it's a little bit different because so many people work on a movie, and only one person that we know of is bad in that regard,
right?
So,
and just because their name is director or writer, or
right?
whatever.
And in this case, he wasn't even the director, so it's a lot easier to do that, have that separation. For there's some stuff like Five Nights at Freddy's, for example, which is so wholly tied to one person, or J.K. Rowling.
Oh yeah, why didn't I think of that one? Yeah.
It's fine.
There's so I'm not kidding, guys. There's
a lot.
So many, and it's awful. And every once in a while, I get to celebrity or authors, and I'm like, ooh, I really hope nothing ever comes out about them. Yeah. And that's bad that I have to think that.
But with somebody like a J.K. Rowling, she's so tied in with this thing she created that it's very hard to do that. As much as it is for something like... and Joss Whedon is also... He's a very big personality, and the stuff that he's attached to, it's his thing, even if he's not, the one in charge of everything.
Right.
But I'd say this movie is so... unlike his other work, and he is so not the main person in charge, that I think it's a lot easier to do. And besides, I just think that it's still a really good movie.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
All right. Well, let's talk about when it was filmed.
Yes, this was filmed in 2009.
Right.
And sat on ice for 4 years.
Apparently, we had found out that the studio is trying to convert it to 3D.
Yeah,
and so they wanted to delay the release of the movie to make 3D happen, but it just wasn't working, and so they eventually gave up on it. And especially because at the time there was a certain cast member who just blew up in fame.
Yeah, Fran.
Yeah, Fran Kranz. He was in Dollhouse.
Just kidding. It's I almost said Liam Hemsworth. Whoops. Sorry.
Whoa, Liam Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth. I don't even know why. I've never even seen a movie with Liam Hemsworth in it.
You've seen Hunger Games?
No, I haven't. I've never seen Hunger Games.
Interesting. All right.
You're just letting the world know that I'm stupid at movies.
Yeah, it's fine. You are very stupid at movies. But this one is good. It was released. It ended up being released in 2012, which is the year we started dating. So that's cool.
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it has Chris Hemsworth in it.
Yeah.
But when he was a quote unquote nobody.
Right, he was not famous. He didn't have Thor yet.
And then he did Thor, and then this movie came out. I think the executives finally got off their ass, and they're like, "Oh, we got to do this now. This guy's hot."
Yeah. We got a big star in the movie, and he's an unknown at the time. And also, there were trailers for this movie. Now, if you were to see these trailers, you would have an idea about what this movie is. And let me tell you something. You would be wrong.
You would be very wrong.
Which I think is a great aspect of this whole thing.
Sometimes.
Yeah?
Well, because we do this all the time. We watch trailers.
Oh, right,
We make our own assumptions, and then our assumptions are way better than what the end product is.
Right.
It happens
build up these
all
ideas.
the time.
Suicide Squad.
The Last Jedi.
Last Jedi. Oh, my God. But this movie, I'd say it really worked out because they deliberately made decisions to hide certain things about this movie.
I would say my or it was 99% perfect.
Yeah.
And there's just one thing I would have changed to make it absolutely perfect. And I'll get into what that is later.
Sure.
Okay, let's get into these characters.
Let's do it.
So we have mainly 5 characters that we'll be talking about.
And we meet these people in the trailer. They're headed off to the titular cabin, so they're who we need to focus our looks on.
Right. First, we have Jules. Mm-hmm. She is our newly blonde lady.
She's fun. She's fun. She's hanging out. An interesting thing about this is like the way these characters are set up is very different than how they're portrayed throughout the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
So it's a little difficult to be like, oh, she's like this, because in my opinion, when it starts out, they're all just kind of normal people.
Yes.
Like they all have dimensions. They all they're all kind of smart. They're all kind of just regular people. And then
agree.
as they go on, they start to fall into these character types. So there's Jules. She's blonde. Her boyfriend is Chris Hemsworth.
Who is Chris Hemsworth?
Chris Hemsworth.
I don't know why I have such a problem saying this name.
You really want to say Liam.
No, I don't.
You really wish it was Liam in this movie.
No, I don't.
There's also the main character, Dana.
Yes. Played by Kristen Connolly.
Kristen Connolly, right?
Connolly.
Who, no relation to Jennifer Connolly, nor is there any relation to Jerry O'Connell.
Well,
who was in Scream 2, who I realize why I keep getting his name wrong. We were listening to the Scream episode that we did recently, and I kept saying Connolly, what's his name? It's because Jennifer Connolly is an actress, and Jerry O'Connell, it's a very similar Jerry, Jennifer, I don't know. Anyway, neither of them are in this movie.
Yeah, she plays Dana. She's more of our like demure little redhead, sweet, innocent little thing.
Okay.
So it seems.
And then there's newcomer to the friend group.
Yeah, his name's Holden.
Yeah.
Played by Jesse Williams, who is Avery in Grey's Anatomy, which we used to watch before, that one character died and we fucking gave up.
Okay, yeah, narrows it down.
Exactly. Who are we talking about, people? You'll never know.
Right in. No, spoilers. That'd be bad.
Yeah.
But then you have fan favorite
Marty
the stoner, played by Frank Kranz, who was in Dollhouse. Who that's another Joss Whedon show that I do love that show. That's very good, and he plays a great character in that.
I remember you and your friend Connor, who's on our other podcast, being completely obsessed with Marty.
Yeah.
In this movie.
Yeah, because he's great.
It's just so funny because neither of you are like that.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Yeah.
I already forgot the voice I did at the beginning. But yeah, he's kind of like the Randy character in Scream a little bit.
Yeah, just kind of knows it all, or is just never.
Right.
Yeah.
He's very different from the rest of them. He's a stoner in this, and he's very paranoid. He's got all those they're tracking us kind of delusions and everything. Well. Delusion's a strong word.
Delusions back then, maybe.
Yeah. And, these are our friends, and they're going off to this cabin in the woods. I don't know if it's ever really established why, if it's just kind of to hang out.
It's Kurt's cousin.
Yeah, Kurt's cousin owns the
apparently,
cabin.
But then even at the end-ish, he's like, I'm pretty sure Kurt doesn't even have a cousin.
Yeah.
Which, everybody has a cousin.
Everybody has a cousin.
Yeah.
Families are... I feel like most people have more cousins than siblings. Usually. Anyway.
So that's our core group.
Yeah.
Let's put those in a box and watch them. Where do we watch them from? This big warehouse.
Very nice.
Like underground, thank you. Underground layer.
Yeah.
Where we have these two other characters.
There's Sitterson and is it Hadley?
I would say it's Hadley.
Yeah. Played by Richard Jenkins, who we just saw in Shape of Water.
Yes.
And Bradley Whitford, who has he been in anything recently that we've seen?
I mean, that we've seen
for
or
the
that
show,
for the show?
on
Probably
the show.
not. No.
He's in The West. He's in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
He's a big actor, they're both big actors. But yeah, this is where I knew both of them from initially.
Yes, whenever I see these two, I go, from Cabin in the Woods.
In fact, when we were watching The Shape of Water, we're like, oh, it's Cabin in the Woods guy, and then
we couldn't decide which Cabin in the Woods guy was. I couldn't because they have so much facial hair in that movie.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't know.
Right. And there's another guy in that movie who looks like Bradley Whitford for a second, and so we thought that was him, and we're like, oh, they're both in this. But they're not, unfortunately. So yeah, they are these corporate stooges, you almost might say. They got suits on, and they're just going to work, having themselves work conversations, talking about how he is trying to have a kid with his wife, but it's not going well.
And she's already baby-proofing the house, which
Right.
is ridiculous.
And Jenkins is tuning out. He's like, he's driving his little golf cart thing.
It's very like Austin Powers, like,
Yeah.
the secret lair.
Right, it is. And friggin' Hadley is like, are you even listening to me? And then bam! We get
Title
blasted
card.
in the face with the title card.
And it scared the shit out of me in theaters.
Yeah.
I remember like jumping.
Right.
Actually, I think what you did is you put like your hand on me so I knew something was coming, because
Uh-huh.
you used to do that for me all the time.
Yeah,
when you used to go and watch scary movies and then I would go and watch.
Right. Because
because I would be hiding behind my hands if I just thought something scary was going to happen.
Yeah. Well, you've gotten a lot braver.
I have.
Now we'll go see horror movies and you're just like, cheap. Cheap jump scares.
I hate them though. I hate
Yeah,
cheap
yeah.
jump scares,
They're
and this
effective.
is one of them.
This is
but I
really-
don't mind it too much.
This is arguably
'Cause
the
it's
cheapest
just
jump scare there is.
Because it's just words.
It's so dumb, but it's so bold and just like you have to love it. Because it's just the title card and like the screaming and it's no build up. It's not like based on anything. It's just like bam, scary.
right. Which apparently they like started this movie off with this corporate scene to like confuse you into being like, shit, did I go to the wrong movie?
Right.
And that's what like bam gets you.
Yeah,
Cabin
it's
in the Woods.
pretty funny. And that's when we meet our heroes and they're going off and they Marty has a bong.
Yes.
He has this
pulls
really
up in a
big
car
bong.
and has a big bong.
And he folds it down into like this thermos. And it's really cool because watching the trailer for this movie, you see him like carrying that thermos around and he's just like, hey, what's up? I have this thermos. And I don't know if like weed is a thing you can't really show in trailers because later on there's another scene where he's sitting at a table. In the movie, he's like rolling joints, but in the trailer, he's just sitting there like picking at his fingers or whatever. He's not doing anything. But with the thermos specifically, I wonder if like they're trying to trick you in terms of like you're seeing something in the trailer, but it's not what you think it is because that's like
Could
a
be.
theme throughout
Could
this
be.
movie. But it also might just be the weed thing. Like we can't show a bong in
It
a
could be.
trailer.
So yes. So all of them climb into the Winnebago.
Yeah.
And are going to spend a weekend at the Cabin in the Woods.
Dum dum bum.
We just immediately know something's up because like there's a guy on the roof who's like, okay,
Watching
the eagle has left the nest or whatever.
The eagle's in the air. It's flying.
Yeah. And they go and they stop for gas at this remote place that has,
Mordecai.
yes, he is this like absolutely creepy,
Yeah.
very Texas Chainsaw Massacre type guy
Yeah.
who, is chewing tobacco and spitting,
Ugh.
chew tobacco, chew tobacco, chew tobacco, spit.
What?
I bet you don't even know that song.
No, I don't.
It's a country
You keep doing
song.
this thing to me where you just like do a
Start
song
singing songs.
and I don't know it and I get scared.
But he is called the Harbinger,
Yeah.
and he's like the messenger of death. And he-
This is a classic callback to Friday the 13th with Crazy Ralph.
yeah.
You'll never come back again. That weirdo.
Is that what he sounds like?
Yeah, it is.
You're doomed.
Right. Because he is. He's like, you're going up to the old Buckner place. Yeah. And they're going to have a problem getting back from there.
Yeah, and
says.
everyone's just like, okay, bye.
Whatever. Yeah, he's a jerk. This guy's a dick.
Yeah. What would you do if we're going somewhere with our friends and we run into somebody like that?
Are you asking me to put myself in these
Yeah,
movies
I
again?
am.
If I were in the cabin in the woods and I met a harbinger, I would simply kill him.
Okay.
Yeah, because you got to kill him.
No,
Otherwise,
really.
well, I don't know. Well, it depends on the context. If we're going somewhere nice and happy, like,
Disney World.
sure. And people are like, don't go to Disney World. Nobody ever comes back from Disney World. I'd be like, all right, this guy's a weirdo. But I don't know. If we were going out to some obscure campsite and somebody was just like, hey, listen, I know you're going to have a good time. You got all these, Lunchables packed and everything.
Oh my God.
Things are going
Maybe
great
if
for
you
you.
were packing our lunches, Al.
Ooh, we should. But listen, lots of people have been getting killed out there. There's a story about this Michael Myers character who's just killing everybody. I recommend you turn around now. I'd be like, oh, well, thank you for the tip, kind gentleman.
And then what would you do?
I'd keep going to the campground.
Exactly. That's
got
the hardest
places
thing
to
because I feel like
be.
we've had stuff like this where like we have some bad interaction, and my first instinct is to be like, okay, let's go home. Like I don't even want to
Something's
deal
weird
with
here.
this
Yeah.
anymore. And you're always like, stop. Like
It'll be
fine. And
I'll be right back.
yeah, like I'm always the nope. That's it. Nope. I'm done.
And I'll have you know that we haven't been serial killed yet.
Yes, but
So-
there have been many a times that I look back and I'm like, I wish I would have just followed my gut instinct
that's
and
true.
left. So do that, people. Follow your gut instinct. It doesn't matter how many people you piss off. Like, it's better to be safe than sorry.
I guess that's true. But these kids do not.
Nope, they just are
continue
like,
on.
fuck you. Get
Yeah.
back in the car, go up to the cabin.
Right.
Cabin looks the spitting image
Yeah.
of the cabin in The Evil Dead.
If that cabin hadn't burnt down tragically, you'd almost believe that it was
Yeah.
the same one. It's spot on, and they get out and they're like, "Oh, this is the place to be," and they go in, and we fade back downstairs and this is we later kind of find out this is happening directly underneath this cabin.
Yes.
Like all this facility is directly underneath it, and we meet a new character to the facility. He's like a new guard. He's Truman. This character only exists to have him tell the audience things or have him ask questions.
Well,
That the rest of
not
them-
only that, he also, because he is new, and we haven't really gotten into it yet,
Mm-hmm.
but doesn't really approve of what
Yeah,
these people do for a living.
that too.
It's almost your empathy pass
Mm-hmm.
of like, hey, this isn't normal.
Right.
Like, we shouldn't be having this much fun doing this type of
Yep,
thing.
because the others who work there are kind of desensitized to it.
Right.
And they're just
'cause
like,
they've just been doing it
for so long, and they're just, we have to live our lives. We have to let loose and have fun. This guy's a newbie, so he's just like, ugh, I don't like any of this.
Right.
Right.
And so they get to the cabin.
Mm-hmm.
They find like a two-way mirror,
Right.
like
With this,
in between Dana and Holden's room, and then you tell everybody about it. So everyone immediately is like, "Ooh, that's sus."
yeah, that is sus for sure. Because they pull down this, there's this painting on it that they pull
Horrid,
down.
yeah, picture.
He's just like, I don't want to see this. So he takes it down. He sees that there's this two-way mirror, and he's just like, oh, hey. He takes a little longer than I would appreciate for him to say something.
Yeah.
But he's
I
like,
think that's a Joss Whedon
maybe
thing.
it could be. He's like, hey, you shouldn't do that. There's a two-way mirror here. So he's like, hey, you want to switch rooms with me? And so they switch rooms.
And then he immediately gets naked in front
Right.
of it.
and like he knows that he knows that's
He probably
there.
doesn't know that she went back into the other room.
I feel like they switched rooms. He knows she's there. But also, he didn't put the painting back up because she does that. And she's like, I'll put this up. And then, oh, it's creepy. I'll put the thing on. But like
Put
also,
a blanket over it.
Right, put a blanket over it. Also, could they not have put that painting up on the other side of the mirror so there's no question of, is anyone looking through it? Because on the other side, it's just a mirror.
Right.
I have a lot of
I don't know.
questions. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But anyway, that situation's resolved.
Right. And then they all go swimming. And I just think this scene is really, really funny.
Yeah.
Because, they're all in their swimsuits and whatever. And then here comes Truckin' Marty
Yeah.
with his like
Trucking along.
long sleeve shirt and a
Yep.
towel wrapped around his neck. And apparently they had to have Fran Krantz
Right.
in this outfit because he's so goddamn buff.
Yeah. This dude is jacked.
It's so funny to think about.
Yeah, and I have no idea why. I don't know if he's in like another movie or whatever at this time, or if he's just a bodybuilder, like not a bodybuilder, but he just works
Just
out.
works out.
But it's very funny to think of this guy like standing next
this,
to Thor.
Exactly, who is like the god of gods.
Right,
and,
he's the god of thunder.
like Chris Hemsworth has like workout videos dedicated
Yeah.
to him now, and that was a huge thing during the pandemic. People are like, work out like a superhero.
Yeah.
And he was like doing classes and stuff. And yeah, like they're like, no, Fran, keep your clothes on because like we cannot have you looking better than Thor.
Right. Although it really would have gone into the subverting tropes and everything if they had shown like one scene where it's just like he's super buff and everyone's just like, whoa, You've been working out. I didn't know.
They should have revealed it like at the end.
Yeah, he should have. At the end of the movie, he fights off the giant hand and he
Yeah.
pulls his shirt off. He's like, I can do this. And we're like, kind of dropped the ball at the ending there, this movie, but it's fine.
Yeah. But I like that. I like thinking
It
about
is
that
funny.
because it's so funny.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, they go swimming. They're kind of just hanging out.
Yeah.
Eventually it gets to be nighttime and they're like drinking. Everybody's starting to act different than they were at the beginning of the
Yeah,
movie.
Jules like gets dared to make out with this like wolf that's on the
Yeah,
wall,
right.
which is like I think like the worst scene of the
It's
whole movie.
real dumb. It's real dumb. And then
Well, I remember watching it for the first time, and because you know something's bad's gonna happen, so you
Yeah.
think it's gonna bite her face off.
right, it's gonna come alive or something.
Right. So the tension's there the first time you watch it.
Yeah.
And it's effective. But like every time after that, it's just awkward and yucky.
Kind of a dumb scene. And then she like says thank you to it
Yeah.
afterwards. which-
Oh yeah, she does this like whole scene with it.
Right.
Like talks to it's weird.
Yeah. They're playing Truth or Dare, and in the middle of this, as they're talking, the cellar door behind them flies open and like with a bang, and it is shot for shot like identical to the Evil Dead.
Yes, where the just pop.
Right.
pops open.
Which is really cool. So they go down there, despite Marty being like, "We shouldn't be doing this. This is dumb."
Right.
Everybody else is like, "Oh, what's going on?" Marty's the only one who's kind of keeping a sensible head about things. And they go down there.
And there's all these artifacts,
Mm-hmm.
antiques, just all this stuff, and everybody's kind of drawn to like one thing or another. Jules is looking at like a specific necklace.
Yeah, there's
Kurt's holding up a conch at one point.
there's a ballerina in a music box. There's like a movie reel
Yep.
thing going on. But Dana has herself a diary.
And
She's
she
reading.
finds that and she starts reading from it, which distracts everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the diary of Anna Patience Buckner.
The diary of Anna Patience
And
Buckner.
it basically goes into this redneck torture family
Yeah.
that believed in satanic things and that
Right.
you must kill people and you know,
They like
Papa
worship pain, essentially.
exactly. Papa took my arm off so I can hardly write this last passage, but it's written in Latin,
Yeah.
and this will forever keep our family alive.
Oh, cool.
And so then, of course, Marty's like, do not read that.
Yeah.
Which I would be the same way.
Right. The Latin is a no-go. We are
Yeah.
not reading the Latin.
I would legit be like, do we not remember the Evil Dead? Don't read from that.
Well, that leads to one of my first kind of questions about this movie is, do other horror movies exist in this movie's world? Because the implication is that all of the horror movies that we've seen are in this world, take place in this world. Like every horror movie exists
well,
here.
even if the movies don't exist,
Yeah.
the horror stories must exist
You think
because
so?
people get killed.
Well, right. The things happen.
Right.
Ostensibly.
So so you have the stories of them.
Right.
Just like we have the stories of Charles Manson and John Wayne Gacy and
Yeah.
Jeffrey Dahmer. We have those stories.
right.
So like it's basically the same thing as a movie in my mind.
I guess.
You don't believe that.
No.
Okay.
I guess I just think of a movie differently than a real serial killer.
It's so hard because like they're calling out the tropes, but like, do you
Right.
know the tropes?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's just
What do you
interesting.
think?
I don't know.
You think
horror
there's no
movies.
horror movie in Cabin in the Woods?
Well, like a zombie movie, no other zombie movies exist, so nobody can ever say like, "Oh, it's like zombies." Like every zombie movie I've seen.
Some of them are like
Well,
that.
sure, some of them, but most of the time,
Well,
no.
I would say yes, there are movies because otherwise, why would Marty be like, "Don't read that"?
Right. It's just confusing. So there are a lot of questions that I have about this movie. That's one of them. But yeah, she reads the Latin, and that essentially seals their fate in terms of the Buckners come back to life and or resurrect anyway, and start attacking them and killing them.
Okay, let's not jump the gun here. They come back to life.
Oh, right, but to kill them.
Yeah.
And I'm saying like this is what happens in the movie is they get killed, and that's the end of the movie. And now I'm ending the episode.
No.
But what I'm saying is I honestly think this is one of the worst choices they could make. Not in terms of like, oh, it's awful, but like the most boring.
You think so? This is one of my big things that I was going to talk about.
Okay.
First of all, everybody down in the laboratory
Yeah.
center is like watching
Yeah.
and like waiting for them to pick something, because apparently every artifact has a monster or creature or
Right.
thing attached to it, and they, as the 5 people, have to pick something of their own free will.
They have to choose the thing that.
And they're starting to have talks about like the ancient ones, and we
Yeah.
have to please the gods and the people downstairs and the director.
audience, yeah.
Like it all has to be pleased in a certain way.
Right.
So like we're starting to put these pieces like together. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about this. So you don't like
Yeah.
the zombie redneck torture
Right.
family. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess when I first saw it, I agree that like I was like, oh, okay, like here's another zombie movie.
Yeah.
But the torture thing is what makes me go like, ugh.
Right. And I think from the perspective of what the filmmakers were trying to do, it makes sense. For one thing, this was the peak of like zombie fandom.
I guess I never watched Walking Dead.
Right.
So
Actually, now that I
was
say that,
not... Go ahead.
now that I say that, I guess The Walking Dead, I think, started in 2011, so maybe it's a little before then. But I think zombies were still pretty popular, so it makes sense that they would go with something like that. Plus, they were specifically one of the things that they were trying to do when they set out to make this movie was they were upset about how much the horror genre was kind of descending into just torture porn. And it was
True.
just, it's just
Oh,
people
so
getting...
like, why would they choose torture zombies?
Well, I'm saying they did that because that's what they were commenting on. It's like, this is what people want now, is just like brutal violence and blood and like just pain and
okay.
suffering. So it makes sense. I just think that it's one of the most boring choices because we've seen this so many times in so many other movies, and every other option just sounds infinitely more interesting.
It does, but it would just take so much more work
Yeah.
in storytelling.
That's true.
When we already have such a complicated story going on.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's break it down. We're jumping ahead. So like there's all these other monsters
Yeah.
that they could have chosen.
Right.
Like one's like a sugar plum fairy.
Yeah.
Which is this
Ugh.
little girl who just has like a mouth for a face.
Yeah. Face for mouth.
And then there's a Pinhead knockoff guy with saws in his head. And like we see the board of like everything they could have chose. It's like the twins from The Shining and a giant snake.
Giant spider.
Yeah, the regular zombies, werewolves, vampires, ghosts,
Right. Just
that
a lot
type
of
of thing.
A lot of things. Yeah.
If you chose really anything else besides just like ghosts or demons or something like that,
Right.
it would just take so much more storytelling.
Yeah.
And this movie is already full.
Right. That's for sure.
So I'm sure that's why. Now, I'm going to tell you.
Yes, please do.
What my theory of this movie was.
Because we're sitting in the theater and your brain's cooking up a little story, and
Yeah.
I'm thinking that's a great story.
Right. I remember saying like, oh, I thought they were going to like have it go through a situation and they pick the redneck torture zombies, and then they would have to like back up and pick something else. And it would have like multiple endings in the one movie.
Yeah. Okay.
And like, so it was like, oh, this is how like you would die if it was vampires. Oh, this is how you would die if it was. So it, like just had
kinda
a
like
little
the
bit.
Clue movie.
Kinda. Yeah, exactly. Kind of like that. I then thought.
Yeah, this is what I remember you saying.
Right. Which is my even better idea, is that if I went to the theater on Tuesday and saw this movie, I got the redneck torture zombie ending.
Yeah.
But if I went to the movie on like Saturday, I would get the vampires.
Right. So essentially, there would be multiple versions of the movie where they choose
Which-
different outcomes.
Yeah, I would think be a huge moneymaker, because then you
You'd
say
have to go see the movie multiple
yeah,
times.
you go to your friend and you're like, oh my gosh, that movie was so good, and they're like, with the vampires, and they're like, oh, you had vampires, we had a giant snake, and
Yeah.
like then you're like, oh, and then like you'd have to go a million times and see it and try to collect them all, just like the Beanie Babies of
Yeah, it's just like
the
Beanie Babies.
90s.
That would be such a great idea for a movie to do that, but I just think
It just
how
it
could
wouldn't
you do
work.
it? How would it work?
But
Because you'd have to.
it would be like that one Black Mirror episode.
Oh,
Schadenfreude.
Bandersnatch.
Yeah, Bandersnatch.
Schadenfreude. Okay. Yeah, because like press screenings, you'd have to just act as if there was only one movie and just show one to like press screeners and every like reviewers, early reviews. then like the day of the opening suddenly send like different files
there's
to
just,
different theaters.
Different things.
And then just imagine the pandemonium of people online just being like,
It would be so good, though.
have to hear about what this movie's doing. It's crazy.
Right.
Oh, it'd be so cool. But then how would you do like DVDs? Would you have a...
You'd have all the endings, and
so
then you choose your own adventure.
Well, that'd be a lot to put on one DVD. I imagine it would be you could buy different versions of the movie on DVD, but then they'd sell like a Blu-ray box
But
set.
people would be so mad.
Yeah.
Because they'd be like, well, I can't get the unicorn ending in my town. I have to go over to the next state.
And then what if some of them are region locked?
Or like, yeah, and some of them are super rare. Like you have to like fly over to Australia to get the scorpion one or whatever.
Yeah, what's an Australian thing? A coconut crab ending.
That's what you chose.
Maybe listen, there's
of all of Australia.
There's already giant spiders in the movie, so
yeah,
can't go with that.
But like,
it would have been so cool, and it legitimately made me mad. You had this idea, and I was just like, that is such a goddamn great idea, and they couldn't have done it.
No,
they couldn't have done it, but they should have done it.
I know, but how cool would that have been?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, they go with the dumb redneck torture zombies.
I don't mind it so much. But yes.
They're effective. Although, there's another thing I have about the movie. A couple things. For one thing, they, knowing that that's what they choose, the rest of the movie plays out as if that's what they always had to choose. Because they're going to the old Buckner place.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
And like they have this whole diary thing here. The other stuff isn't set up at all.
Well, it just makes me wonder if it would have been.
Right. Like if they had chosen, say, like there was the sphere, the
hell god or whatever.
Right. He's like the lord of torture and bondage and pain or
Hell
whatever.
Lord. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if they had chosen that, it would not really have tied in with the cabin in the woods aspect of it. It would have just been, oh, suddenly there's this thing here. It's like some movies are so tied into their environment, like Jigsaw. If they had chosen Jigsaw from the Saw movies, like those movies are so industrial and like warehousey that like it just wouldn't fit in a cabin in the woods kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I guess like that's just kind of the conceit of what they got to go with here.
So basically, when we go back down to the, what are we calling it?
Just the facility.
Facility.
Yeah.
Okay. They're
the
talking,
faculty.
Well, speaking of the faculty, so it basically comes out that we have to have these type of sacrifices.
Yeah.
To the ancient ones annually, and that everywhere around the world, kind of each different country has a crack at it, like takes a crack at it.
Right.
And now everyone else has failed. Stockholm, all these other places, and it's down to Japan and America.
Yeah, this is something else we have to talk about.
Yeah,
they talk about Japan having a perfect, like 100% track record,
right?
And this actually does line up with a lot of Japanese horror does not have like a happy ending the way American horror does.
Right.
Like usually everybody dies or things just turn out badly. But I wouldn't say that America is second place. I just don't really see that bearing out because, a lot of the time they do get away. Although I guess the final girl doesn't have to die, so maybe, I don't know. It's confusing. But I don't know enough about like these other cultures' horror movies to speak on those. I feel like a lot of them would also be similar to Japan, like have bad endings and they would have a higher success rate.
I don't think it really matters what the story is. It just happens that like they have 100% success rate, and ours is America is like pretty good too.
Yeah.
So, but it has to happen annually, and they're getting down to the nitty gritty of like somebody's got to do it,
right?
And they're not quite freaking out yet
because they're at the point where everybody except for Japan and America have failed.
Right. And, they're talking and they're like, we haven't had a glitch since 1998.
Yeah.
And I went, what the fuck happened in 1998? And you immediately were like, Jody, it's the faculty. And I was like, you're shitting me.
Well, we were doing research on it.
I don't remember this.
Right. And this is what people were saying. It was the faculty. And I was struggling to remember that too, because I don't remember anything happening in the faculty that like they almost like would have failed from the facility's perspective.
Yeah. No, they did. Because everybody was infected with the alien virus parasite,
right,
except the Virgin.
So they would have won.
Yes, but the Virgin took it all back and everybody still lived.
Yeah, but
You have to die.
right. Oh, because nobody died in that movie.
Right, because nobody died.
Literally everybody, even
Well,
like
that really, really old lady died because she
Right.
literally disintegrated.
that's
but
true. But like even Jon Stewart, who got stabbed and his
yeah.
hands chopped off, he was fine. He was
Yeah.
just like, I'm okay.
So like that was, you know what? That was just probably like, oh, turns out these don't kill people.
Right.
So like it was a bust anyway.
Yeah.
So like maybe that was the glitch.
Maybe,
is
yeah.
that the aliens don't actually kill it.
Could have been. Yeah. I almost wish
So funny that we watched that this season.
It is
like
funny, yeah.
perfect that it lines up this way.
I almost wish they had said 96 and they were referencing Scream because that movie is also very meta from a horror perspective.
Yeah, but it also lines up pretty well.
Yeah, it does.
They're watching Japan. Japan has this like Samara
Yeah, it's very
type
Grudge,
ghosts
Ring
and scaring
kinda
all
thing.
these little schoolgirls and
Mm-hmm.
all this stuff. And then eventually they're like finding out that no, the schoolgirls are winning.
Yeah.
And they've turned this demon ghost child into what? A little fucking frog.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, the evil is banished.
Mm-hmm.
And such and such will live forever as this happy frog. And I just want to die. I'm
Yeah,
like,
you're like, this isn't better.
fuck this. I'd rather have a little demon child.
You made it worse.
Yeah. Legit.
But Japan ostensibly wins. This is the first time they've ever lost. Seems like that should be a bigger deal.
Yeah.
But America's only one left who
Right,
can do it.
and
So
so,
they're
like-
like, we got to pull this off.
Okay, so let's get to the
The good stuff.
yeah, the rituals, if you will.
Yeah.
So these people down in the facility can manipulate anything.
Uh-huh.
They can manipulate pheromones in the air, what the temperature is.
This sounds great. I want to live.
I know, right?
I want to
I
live
thought
in
that
their
too.
world
Like-
that they've created for me, Truman Show style. Because like I just want it to be. Oh, it's cold. Hey, facility guys, Bradley
I'm
Whitford.
cold, yeah.
Yeah, can you turn?
All you have to do
bump
is be
up
like,
the-
man, I'm really cold in here, and somebody just like bumps it up.
Man, I would sure get killed by some monsters if it were a little warmer in here. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
I'm feeling real safe in here with all this hotness. I need it a little chillier. Oh, there we go.
Right. Like, so Kurt and Jules go outside for a walk,
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
which, why?
They're like, hey, I'm reading this map here. It says the bone zone is this way. Let's go find it.
So before they even got to the cabin, she dyed her hair.
Yeah.
When apparently the dye that's in her hair was manipulated by the people at the facility
Yep.
to make her dumber.
Right.
So like that's where our dumb blondes come from.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been pumping Kurt with like just all these hormones to
Mm-hmm.
make him dumb.
Dumber in the beer that he's drinking.
Yeah, and everything that he's ingesting is making him like the dumb alpha.
And Dana is kind of acting more timid and more demure. And Holden is being smarter.
Right.
He's a smart boy.
And Marty's just
Marty's the same, man.
Same.
He doesn't change. They talk about how they have been spiking his weed to make him even more paranoid. And I do think he gets more paranoid and a little weird throughout the movie, but he's still on top of things. Like he's still pretty much there. And they later say that like whatever he's been smoking has been immunizing him.
right. It doesn't make any sense.
Right. And I was desperately trying to find out if they had like hinted at this earlier in the movie, if it's like, hey, I got this new stuff from some other country like that I haven't been smoking before. Like he threw out all that stuff and was smoking.
Right.
But I just didn't
Nothing. Yeah.
catch
It doesn't add up.
So it's just like it's just that he's a stoner, and so he's like,
He's used to it.
and this I do think we need to spend more time on this, because this is why everything falls apart, is that he's able to like see what's going on and figure it out, and then they end up getting down later.
Yeah. You like when they're down in the basement
Yeah.
and he's like, don't read that Latin.
Right.
And like someone in the facility like clicks on the speaker
Yeah.
and is like, read it.
Read the Latin. Yeah.
And he's like, what the fuck?
like, what
like
the-
he can
who
hear
said
all these
that?
things.
Yeah.
Or what else? He has another scene where someone says something.
Yeah, he's
it's
reading
like,
a book.
or it's
He's
like, go
I
for
gotta
a walk.
Yeah, I gotta go read a book with pictures, and he's reading a book with pictures. And yeah, he hears this like, you should go for a walk. And he's like, what was that?
And then he's
Huh?
like, I'm fuck this. I'm going for a
Yeah,
walk.
it's like, I should go for a walk. So it is kind of working on him.
So Kurt and Jules are going out into the woods
Yeah.
for hanky panky, if you will. And this is a
I
good
will
scene
not.
because they're like bumping up the hormones, so that because it's all part of the sacrifice.
Yeah. They're putting on the saxophone beats, and they're like, I can hear music, but I don't care.
Yeah. So they're
Scootily pooping.
Oh my God, I haven't heard that in so
That's what they're doing. I'm sorry.
totally. They're escalating and but it has to be that like the whore
Yeah. The who
type character, which
Right.
apparently has been Jules, has to be topless and has to die first.
Right. They mention how they have to transgress so they can be punished. So it's important that they have the nudity and have the sex aspect of it.
Right, because she is the most tainted
Right.
and the most sinful, so she must die first.
Right. And this is, again, I wouldn't say this is what this movie is specifically saying, like it's anti-sex or whatever. I think it's commenting on these tropes.
I just think it's whoever is deemed that.
Right. I'd like to call back to Halloween, 1978, where this was basically established, these tropes of like the characters who have sex die first, where it's noted that isn't what the filmmakers were trying to do. They were just trying to distract all of Laurie's friends so that they wouldn't notice Michael Myers was around and then they'd get killed. They weren't specifically stating, like, hey, if you have sex, that's bad.
Right.
And being punished for it. They were just like, they're teens. Here's what teens are like. They're not really paying attention to the world around them. Here's something they do is have sex. And Laurie just isn't like that. She's more aware of her surroundings and everything. So, but just bringing it back because that's the trope that we're talking about right now.
Right. So the zombie family gets to Kurt and Jules and they stab her in the hand and pin her to the ground.
Right.
Then they eventually like throw a bear trap at her back.
Right.
Hoist her up.
Yeah. These bear traps, they use these as like just hooks to like grab people and pull them around.
That's not how it work.
Right. How are these people? There are people who are attacked by these hooks and then they escape and go, like Kurt in this scene, he gets hooked in the back. Like, is his spine not shattered?
I don't know.
How does this work that they're able to just take off? And later there's a fight with Dana where she's like scraffling with one of these things and she's hurt by it. Like, it's obviously an ordeal, but she's walking around later.
I think that's just adrenaline, but
maybe, but it's just so unrealistic how. But I it might be another commentary on the torture porn thing where it's just like they're manipulating these bodies and everything, but
maybe
they're completely fine.
So they saw Jules' head off.
Yeah, she's not fine. She's dead.
She's dead.
Yeah.
Kurt runs back into the cabin and is like,
bros,
like she's
you
dead.
will not believe.
And they're like, who's dead? and he's like, Jules, she's gone.
Yeah.
And then it's like, knock, knock, knock. The door opens. It's one of the, I think it's like Judah or Matthew or whoever.
Whatever.
Like basically just chucks Jules's head in.
Yeah.
Dana catches it and it's like,
There's a joke to be made here about giving head, but I don't have the time to think about it.
Good. I'm glad you didn't have the time to think about that.
Thanks. But yeah, so this is where everybody knows.
Right now it's like,
down.
oh, yep, okay, survival mode kicks in.
Yep.
Alpha Kurt is like, okay, this is what we have to do. We have to board off the whole house and blah, 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 blah.
Stick together. That's the important thing.
Right. And of course, everyone at the facility's like, no,
don't
do
together.
that.
Damn it. Haven't you ever seen a movie?
Right. So they release the dumb hormone.
They pump up the jams on the dumb hormones.
And he immediately is like, no, wait, we should split up because we're going to cover more ground that way.
Yeah.
And friggin' Holden doesn't even question. He's like, yeah, good idea.
Well, 'cause he's
and
dumb
Marty's
too.
just like, no.
It's like, what? And this is weird because they're obviously pumping in dumb juice to make them dumb. But I wouldn't think your immediate thought would be, okay, let's split up now. It almost read to me like they were putting that idea into him.
And maybe
But-
they were
and maybe
whispering
they
it, but
were.
they didn't. You
Yeah,
know.
they just didn't say
They
it.
can't whisper everything into the movie.
I wish they would. I'm dumb. I got the dumb juices pumped into me. So yeah, they end up splitting up to cover more ground, they say, but it really just amounts to they all just go into their own rooms.
Right. And this is where Marty kind of like starts to find,
Yeah.
oh shit, there's like
A camera on the
camera
wire.
here, and he's pulling on the wires and like looking into it, and everybody at the facility's like, shit.
They're like, oh wait, actually, we don't need to worry about that.
Right, because here comes brother Judah to save the day,
Judah.
who crashes through the window and pulls Marty out, and Bear traps his back and pulls him, and
Pulls him under, and you see a spray of blood.
Yep, and that's it.
And scene cuts. Now, we've talked many a time about how you don't see a body, they're not dead.
Yeah.
I'm just going to bring that up right now.
Yep. Duly noted.
Anyway, with the others, they do find a way to get into the basement, another way through. So they're kind of exploring. They're trying to figure it out.
And they're basically like, we got to get out of here.
Yeah, this is a bad place to be.
Let's, Marty's dead. I don't know how they figured that out, but they're like,
Right.
Marty's dead. Let's go to the Winnebago. Let's
Yep.
get the fuck out of here. They get there. All three of them get in, Kurt, Holden, and Dana.
Yeah.
And they're going back out through the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier, when we first arrived and we went through this big tunnel
Yeah.
to get to the cabin in the woods, we saw this bird flying by, and it hits this like electrified invisible fence.
Yeah,
type
it's like
thing.
this force field that's separating it.
And so like, oh, that's weird. And then you never really think about it again,
Right.
or maybe. But so they go to drive back out through the tunnel. And the guys down in the lab, they're like, whatever, the tunnel's blown. It doesn't matter. They
Like,
won't
wait,
get
the
out.
tunnel was supposed to be blown?
Right.
The tunnel's not blown, dude.
Oh, well then what are we going to do?
We got to run. We got to blow the tunnel.
Right,
There's
so-
it's a little unnecessary. I think it's just to add a little bit of drama
Suspense,
there,
yeah.
suspense. But the tunnel was supposed to blow. If they escape, they've lost. And so the facility is lost. So they have to run and reconnect the wires to blow the tunnel. And they do. And so it ends up collapsing right in front of them. And so the kids are freaking out. They're like, what do we do? Oh, Kurt, you have a motorcycle, right?
Right.
And look at this giant pit, perfect for motorcycling across.
Yeah. He
Why
must
don't you
think
go
that
ahead
he's
and-
Flag from The Blob, 1998.
He does think that. He says,
1988. My bad.
right, thank you. He says, yeah, I'm Flag from the Blob, and I'm on a motorcycle jump over this. So he gives this speech. He gives this rousing, heroic speech.
I'm getting out of here.
And I'm going to bring
They killed my girlfriend.
everything.
I'm bringing back the Army, the Navy, everybody.
The Air Force,
The biggest guns
the
you can
Space
find.
Force, yeah.
And we're going to blow them up.
We're going to blow this popsicle stand, literally. And he does, right? I'm sure.
Yeah, he jumps it.
I didn't see
I
the
don't
rest of
think
this
he
movie.
would ever make it.
It does not look like it's possible because there's no ramp up, really. It's
Nothing.
just a flat thing.
just a zoom,
But I don't know
jump.
about motorcycles. I guess you can jump a
like
motorcycle.
pop them, like
Yeah.
pop a wheelie.
Popping a wheelie is definitely a thing you can do. I would know. But I guess he can jump. He does, and movie cheats, he kind of does look like he's making more air than he should. But he's going to make it, I think,
Yeah.
unless for this force field that we mentioned.
Which he slams into because
Oh.
you forgot all about it.
Brutal.
And he just tumbles
I wonder
down it.
about this. If they hadn't shown the shot of the bird
I
before,
just think we would have been like, the fuck?
what? Yeah,
I think they would have just like added that in and we'd be cheapened by it. But because they established it
Yeah.
earlier,
but it's
it
not.
makes sense.
It's not really a surprise. You know it's coming. So it's
I
not
forgot.
like-
But I
okay.
had forgotten
Oh,
because so much had happened between now and then.
That's true. They've gone through a lot. It's been a long day.
Well, that and you're still trying to figure out the story.
Yeah,
at
it's
this
all
point.
it's all a mystery.
So of course Dana and Holden are like, "What the fuck just happened? There was this huge
Right.
force field, and we're never getting out of here." So they're basically like, "Well, okay, let's go back to the cabin."
Well, they're driving back. I think Holden is like, what we need to do is just find another way out of this place. That tunnel isn't the only way out. We'll
she's
just
like-
drive through the woods.
She's like, "There's no roads. Yeah, we'll drive through the woods until we can't anymore, and then we'll just go on foot."
Right.
And right at that moment,
Yep.
Papa Buckner is
Papa Roach?
Yeah, no, Papa Buckner is in the back, stabs Holden through the neck
That's a great jump scare. I was
Yeah.
not expecting that at all.
while he's driving. So
Yep.
then crashes the Winnebago.
Into the water, which is very scary.
You're done. Like,
Yeah,
you're done.
they crash face first in the Winnebago into this water, and this just wall of ocean just splashes up into Dana's face. Like, you're dead from that. I'm sorry. I'm
you're dead.
sorry. But no, she survives because these people are unkillable unless they need to be.
Right. And so she swims up to the surface, gets on the deck, but nope, here comes Matthew,
Yep.
the really big zombie, and is
Matthew
like just
Buckner.
torturing her. But everybody at the facility is like,
Hey, everyone's dead.
let's,
except for her.
we did our job.
Her death is optional, so they've essentially won, and they're happy about that.
Right. And so,
So
they're
they're
starting
celebrating.
to party, but then all of a sudden,
The
phone rings. The big red phone, which is bad.
Yeah, just the fact that they have that's
Yeah,
bad.
it's like,
Uh-huh.
So they answer it, and the director,
Yeah.
whoever they are, is like, the ancient ones aren't happy. And they're like, why?
I got the ancient ones on the other line.
Yeah,
they're
not,
pissed.
They're not happy, and they're like, oh, why? Because one of them is still alive.
Oh, no.
And they're like, what?
Which one? That's when you see the bong.
The magical...
The inflatable bong.
No. What is it? A thermos. A thermos
Yeah.
bong comes out and
Just,
hits
Yeah, it
Matthew.
stops the chain that's about to kill Dana. It's Marty.
Yeah, buff
like-
Marty. Now he looks buff.
Yeah, he's like, I'm alive,
Because he
bitch.
just has like a t-shirt on. And
Right.
I noticed it. I was like, you look way bigger than you did before.
So he saves the day. They kind of fight Buckner off. They knock him into the water, and then there's a shot. They run away. There's a shot of just Papa Buckner just rising his head out of the water, which is creepy.
It's very
but also
creepy.
very funny, I
Yeah.
think. It's just like, blip.
So they run back to the cabin, and Dana's like, oh my gosh, how are you still alive? And Marty's like, listen.
I've been smoking this weed.
Well, yeah, that and like, let me show you some shit.
Yeah. You will not believe what's been
Right.
happening
He
to me.
basically they go into the graves where the bodies came out of,
Right.
and there's an elevator, and he's like, somebody sent those motherfuckers up here to kill us.
They say there's a maintenance, like a manual override here,
Yeah.
which I think is a
And he's like,
cheat to get them down into
exactly.
the
And
thing.
he's like, let's go down. And she's like, do we want to go down?
That's an amazing line.
Yeah. And then he's like, what the fuck else are we going to do?
Right. So they open this elevator shaft. He has disassembled one of the zombies. I think it's Mama Zombie.
I think so. Yeah.
And when they open up the thing, its body like falls into
Yeah.
and it makes a bloppy, squishy sound. It's pretty gross.
Yeah.
But they do. They get in the elevator and they start moving on along. And this is where the movie goes
Yeah,
into
this is like-
kicks it up to 11.
This is where we're now on the boat at Jaws.
Yeah.
And we're now at Stu's house in Scream.
right for sure.
This is where we will be for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
And yes, there seem to be in this cube, but this elevator just doesn't go up and down. It goes side to side, much like in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
It can go up. It can go forward. It can go side to side.
Diagonals, anything. But,
And front ways.
and front ways. They pull up next to this other box, and it's like really foggy inside there. And like Dana's like trying to look and see where they are or whatever. And
She does this classic movie thing of like walking slowly forward.
and that and getting too close to the
Yep.
glass. Don't get so close.
Werewolf.
Yeah.
Big
boom.
ol' werewolf
Like,
jumps
slams
in.
into the wall almost to get her.
Yeah.
And, like jumps. And this is okay, the box moves again, and now Marty's face to face with the Sugar Plum Fairy who has a mouth for a face. And,
Yeah.
And Dana's face to face with the Hell Lord.
Right, which is
And
holding the cube, the sphere that
was in the basement.
right.
And now Dana's putting the pieces together like they made us pick what
Right.
was gonna kill us.
Yeah, we
How
chose.
fucked up is that? So she starts like beating on the door,
Yeah,
trying to
she-
get out and whatever. And this
Kind of goes angry, explosive mode.
and this like pans out, and now you see all of these creatures.
oh, it's so cool.
Let's go through what we see.
Please.
Okay, from the list alone that the facility workers
Yeah.
were betting on to see which they would pick
Right.
is from the top: werewolves, alien beast, mutants, wraiths, zombies,
Classic.
reptilius,
Reptilius.
yeah, clowns, witches, sexy witches,
Ooh,
demons,
that's the one I would bet on.
Hell Lord, angry molesting tree,
Yeah.
nod to Evil Dead,
Evil Dead.
giants, deadites,
Another
also
Evil Dead.
Kevin, which was Kevin Williamson,
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
From
which-
Scream and
and-
The Faculty.
and I know you did last summer. Some of our favorite movies.
Yeah.
It then goes on to Mummy,
Mm-hmm.
The Bride.
Ooh, as in of Frankenstein
Nope, it just says The Bride.
or of Chucky.
The Scarecrow Folk, Snowman,
Mm-hmm.
Dragon Bat, Vampires, Dismemberment Goblins,
Okay.
The Sugar Plum Fairy, Merman,
Ooh.
The Reanimated, which is basically just zombies, is it not?
I guess
Unicorn, The Huron,
the Huron.
yeah, and then Sasquatch, and then the
Wendigo.
Wendigo Yeti,
Mm-hmm.
Dolls,
Ooh,
The Doctors, Redneck Zombie Torture Family,
of course.
Jack-o'-lantern,
Okay.
Giant, and Twins.
Nice.
Now there are a million more than what are on this list.
right.
Like we see a giant snake, giant spider.
Yeah.
We see
Well,
there's like some video game things that are in
yeah,
there.
there's a lot of Left 4 Dead characters in there. There are a lot of things that might not be in the finished movie, but there's a lot of behind the scenes footage of. So things like, a giant with a big club and like a floating head and things. I don't know if you ever see these in the movie, but they're there. But yeah, like the Shining twins we see. A lot of references to a lot of movies here. Some of them are generic, like it's not literally, Hellraiser, but it's, this guy with the saws for face. So,
So this is basically stating that
Right.
every horror movie is connected.
Yeah.
And this is why it exists.
right. And this really gets into the thing of it. Now, I have a lot of questions about this too, of course. Like, are these things? Here's my Jody. Answer me this, please.
Okay.
Are these things, all these creatures that we see, we go through all these elevators, we see all these creatures. Are they real? Are these like real things?
Yeah. They are left over from the ancient world.
What the ancient ones gave them these
Yes.
things?
Yeah, that's like a line in the thing.
Okay.
So yes, I think they're real. Do you think they're not?
I don't know. Like, I just didn't know because they have all these. They have like, an evil clown is a thing. Is that clown supernatural in any way?
Well, he gets shot a bunch of times and he doesn't die.
That's true. Damn it, you're right.
Ha!
But there's like the strangers, kinda. They have like
Yeah,
these
those are
weird
the
faces.
dolls.
Yeah, the dolls.
Yeah.
And like I just have a lot of questions.
Well,
and I don't know that I'm gonna get
Are you-
answers.
Are you asking if it's like magical?
Sure, supernatural.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, okay.
But they are also real.
right. I mean, yeah, they're not like fiction. They're not figments of the imagination.
That's what I thought you were asking me. I'm
But,
like,
like-
no, they're real.
I didn't know if they were robots that the facility had created.
No, I think they're. It says that they're gifts from the ancient ones
Okay.
of yesteryear.
Okay. And just a lot of things about the facility. How did they choose these people?
That's what I want to know. That was one of my questions. It's like I think they just like find something that might meet the qualifications,
Uh-huh.
and they like piece it together. Like they had to make Jules a whore.
Right. And because there's, and not to go out of order here, but there's a line where they kind of just go through the tropes and they're like, here's the things. And then they mention that Dana is the virgin and she's like, virgin? And the answer is, well, we work with what we have.
Right.
And it's like,
It's
are there no real virgins?
Yeah, and I think it's all in what the ancient ones will accept
Yeah.
and interpret, which I'm going to get to that later. So they get down to the facility.
Yeah, eventually they do.
And the doors open. And,
Right.
and now everybody in the facility knows that they're there.
Uh-huh.
And they're like,
They're on high alert.
take
They're
out Marty.
They're in
'cause
like
he's
code
got-
red
he's gotta
panic
die.
mode. Yeah. Because they are the last group that has not succeeded. So if they lose,
The whole world loses.
right, they don't really specify yet what's going to happen, but it's big bad news if they
Right.
don't.
Marty and Dana like get away and
Mm-hmm.
like find a hiding spot and whatever. It happens to be like this one control room.
Right.
Of course, a control room that has what? This big ass red button.
Yep.
And under it says Purge.
Hey, remember the Purge?
Yeah, I do remember the Purge. I just have written in big letters, why even have that button?
Right.
Why would you ever need that button?
Right. From a dramatic standpoint, it's cool. It's a great moment to be like, and boom, we're pressing the button. But literally, if it were to be real, if this were a real thing, you could potentially have an open door for each door, and then you just flip every switch, blam, 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 and all the
Right.
doors are open. I don't see a need for having a button that's and purge implies like releasing everything, which is what happens. They do release these creatures, but why? Just how does any of this work? These elevators, are they just sitting there? When you press a button on an elevator, it has to come to you, right?
Well, it's like a long corridor of like, let's say 6 elevators on each
Sure,
side.
sure.
And she hits the first she hits the button.
Yeah.
And the first floor opens.
Right.
And all of the monsters that are on that first floor come and kill all the guards that are right there.
But they're just sitting there.
And then they flee into the building, all the
Yeah.
monsters and stuff. Okay, well, more security guards come and like the second floor, ding, opens, and then all these other new monsters are coming. So they're not like all coming out at once, but
Right.
they are being released.
Yeah, but it really just makes me think of like before they hit the purge button, those elevator doors are closed, and sitting on the other side of it is an elevator, a glass sphere, cube. I cannot get those two words
Yeah, I was like, ooh,
separate from
spirit,
each
huh?
other. is sitting there with a Hell Lord in it, or with a giant snake, or whatever.
Yeah.
Or an angry molesting tree, just sitting there.
Yeah.
Not doing anything, just hanging out.
Yeah.
And then when the doors open, they're like, oh, time to kill.
Yeah.
Then run off, and then something else moves down.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's exactly what happens.
Why do they have all these things just floating around in cubes? Do they not have to eat?
No, probably not.
What about the snake that eats people?
He doesn't have to eat people.
Oh, it just chooses to.
It just chooses to.
It does it for sport. It's fun.
Right. Well, like a demon doesn't have to eat.
No, you don't know that.
I don't.
All the demons I've met have been
I
ravenous.
have a lot of demons inside of me,
That's true.
and none of them need to eat.
Yeah, well, that's not even a little bit true. But yeah, they release Pure Pandemonium. This is my favorite of all movies. The ending of this movie is my favorite movie of all time. Just the chaos that this is. Because these Marty and Dana are running through the facility. They're just trying to survive. They're like barely just dodging all this nonsense. There's just all this stuff going on. There's a unicorn. There's
Yes,
clowns.
this is where we see all of the things that they could have picked.
Yeah. With some of the scariest stuff that I saw from here was there's like a montage on the screens. You see all these security monitors. 2 shots back to back are really terrifying. There's one which is these like stitched up, just monstrous looking like surgeons.
The doctors.
The doctors, and they're like operating on someone.
Yeah.
That's horrifying.
Yeah.
Ugh. And then immediately it cuts from that to a shot of somebody on the ceiling crawling at like super like
Skittering,
Yeah,
if you will.
skittering across the ceiling. And that's two
I agree.
shots
Those
back
are
to
the scariest ones. They also have like a woman just shoot herself in the head.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Well, I feel like that would be like
Me?
you if you were in this. It's like, oh, all these horror
Maybe.
characters running
Yeah.
around? Nope.
Maybe.
Super not going to do it. So yeah, it's chaos. And in the control room, we have our main characters. We haven't talked about Amy Acker's character.
Wendy.
Yeah, Wendy. She's kind of just been,
She's one of the chemists
yeah.
who's been like, oh, well, we want to increase their libido, so we'll pump the CC's amount,
Right.
blah, 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 blah. Like, she's been there the whole time.
And this whole time, she's been the one that's been like, we need to take this seriously because like everybody else is failing, and we need to like succeed. We need to do our best here. And I feel like her character isn't like given a great ending.
I agree.
Like she was a very interesting character because she was the only one taking it seriously while also being on the side of the facility.
Well, let me tell you this. Who wrote this?
Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
Co-wrote it. Yeah, that's true.
So that's why she didn't get jack shit. So
Right.
why she gets scooped up by a tentacle through the ceiling.
Yeah, she does. So yeah, everything's going into chaos. Truman, who again hardly a character, he gets. This is cool. There's all the scarecrow folk.
Yeah.
There's all these scarecrow that run up on him, and he does. This is classic. This is a zombie thing that they do in
Yeah.
zombie movies a lot, where someone's like getting overrun, so they pull out a grenade and they get swarmed and blow it up, which knocks out Hadley, who falls to the ground.
Right. And then as the rubble settles.
Yeah. What's that sound?
It's the merman. And
Oh,
he's an
come on.
ugly son of a bitch.
He is. For
yeah,
sure.
he's like, oh, come on. Because the whole movie, he's been like, man, I hope they pick the merman.
Yeah.
I really
Oh.
want to see a merman.
I wish it had been a merman.
Yeah, and-
Maybe one day I'll see it.
Yeah. And so he's like, oh, really? And then that thing eats him.
Now, let me ask you this. If you were to, like, completely strip all references to a Moo-Man
Merman.
out of this movie, and then you saw that thing, what would you say that it was?
I would say it's like an angler monster.
Yeah, it's more like a fish creature. It does not look like what I would call a merman at all, but I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I'm fine with it too.
It's a very scary looking design.
Right. Let's talk about who made these monsters.
Oh, yes, please. Let's do it.
I mean, there was a whole company. I don't know the name of the company, but
Right.
the lead guy's wife is who? Heather Al Anderson.
Yes.
And I know all of you at home are like, who gives a fuck?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And because none of you know that name, but maybe you'll know the name Heather Langenkamp.
Langenkamp. Yes. Or if you don't, maybe you'll know the name Nancy Thompson.
From
Freddy Krueger's movie.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on
You
Elm
didn't
Street.
even know it. You always want to say Friday the 13th.
Yeah, I almost did. But yeah, Nancy, she's become a special effects makeup artist.
Yes. And like one of her favorite creatures was the merman.
Yeah. and you know it's clear why. It's very cool looking, and it looks very brutal because it just starts mowing down on him and spewing out. But it has a blowhole, has a geyser blowhole. Mermaids don't have blowholes. Whatever. It's half
This one
dolphin,
does.
half mermaid.
Yeah.
Spewing out blood. It's disgusting in the best way. Amy Acker gets tentacled, and so it's only Richard Jenkins left. He ducks out. He's like, well, I'm outie.
It's like, we got to kill Marty.
It's like, I got to go update my resume because I do not have
I
a
need
job anymore.
New job.
Yep. He gets stabbed.
By Dana.
Yeah, he turns a corner and is just like, oh.
Yeah, that
I've been
sucks.
stabbed.
That's just as bad as Ethan Hawke in The Purge.
Oh, you know what? It is.
It's just as bad.
You know what? The Purge came out 1 year after this movie was released, so I bet they saw
They
that
it
and were
they're
like,
let's do that.
let's do that again.
Even though that's the worst way.
Yeah. It's a bummer of an ending because I like this character, even though these people are clearly bad guys.
Right.
Like, they're doing awful things. They deserve it.
And his last thing is just like, you got to kill him.
All right, you got to kill Marty.
Marty's there and he's like, fuck
Marty!
you. Morty!
But yeah, everybody got, well, I shouldn't say everybody. Hadley got like a really funny, cool death. It tied in with his
Right.
whole thing. Richard Jenkins is just like, well, I'm dead now.
Yeah.
But Dana's like, what? And then they just leave.
Right. So then they're like going further down and they get basically to this like ancient room
Oh, yeah.
that has all these like big tiles on it.
Every time that
have
somebody has died, they pull this lever, it breaks a vial,
of blood.
some blood goes flowing down and fills this outline in this tablet.
And there's 5 tablets.
It's 5 tablets. There's the Hooer.
Yes, she is scantily
Right.
posed
There's the athlete who I think, does it have a football?
as a spear.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense. I was
Fuck
going to
you.
say, well,
It's good at football.
well, maybe it has a football.
It
then
doesn't.
then there's the fool who's playing video games. He's got a Nintendo Switch.
And then
What is the fool? I think he's
the
just
fool
like,
has a drinking glass
oh, yeah.
and he's like partying.
There's the athlete. Then
And
there's the scholar who I think has a
book.
scroll or a book or something.
Yeah.
And then there's the virgin who's covering her crotch.
Right. Of course you would notice that.
Yeah.
So they're like, what is going on?
They're like, hey, that's Jules and that's Holden.
No. There's like, what the hell's going on? And then you hear like this voice of just like, it's the ritual
Right.
that must be done.
It's like, I can tell you.
And you're just like, the fuck? Why do I know that voice? Turn around. It's fucking Sigourney
Sigourney
Weaver.
goddamn Weaver.
Yep.
Yep, she's there.
And
It's very cool. And such a surprise because she was not listed in any of the credits. She was not shown in the trailer. She just showed up, and you're just like, "Whoa, hello,
right.
how you doing?"
Apparently, Jamie Lee Curtis, like,
Oh,
I think was either offered that role or was considered.
yeah,
I think they made a better choice.
for sure.
Yeah. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis is fine,
Oh yeah, she's great.
but like Sigourney Weaver's like where
Yeah,
it's at,
she's
man.
she's big.
And apparently
and
she was just like so excited to do this movie because
of the werewolf.
yeah, she's obsessed with the werewolf.
Yeah, and she was like giddy when she was around. She's like, the werewolf. It's very funny. But yeah, she is the director of this whole thing. We've heard about her. Oh, well, we've heard about the director a lot. Finally get to meet her. Is she wearing black gloves?
Yes.
Okay, she's wearing these really long black gloves, which the first probably 8 times I've watched this movie, I've seen it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that her hands were black, and I'm like, why?
Oh
What
my
a
god,
what
you're
a
stupid.
what a weird character choice to have. Like she had burnt her arms, or her entire arm was like blackened, and I was like,
No.
why? But it is weird that she has these long black gloves on. I've never seen somebody like wear something like that. But she explains basically the whole thing. She
Yeah,
says,
she gives us all the juxtaposition,
she's like, there are the ancient ones. They were here long before us. They'll be here long after.
and they have to. You have to sacrifice these people, and they have to be in this type of order.
Right. And the specifics of why aren't ever addressed. It's just like this is just what they want, and they require these sacrifices. They have to be done like this.
Right. So Dana, like, she has a gun,
yeah,
and she's like the entire world is
Right, 'cause
in
that-
your hands because like if you don't kill Marty,
yeah.
like in the next 8 minutes
Before the sun
we're
rises,
all gonna die.
yeah, the ancient ones will rise, and
sh-
you do want the ancient
And
ones
she
to
does
rise.
hold the gun up to Marty and is like, "Sorry."
Yeah, I'm super gonna do it. And then she's attacked by a werewolf.
Now I think that would just kill her.
I feel like again, she should not survive what she goes through. If she does, and if she continues through like the rest, like things continue on. Is she a werewolf now?
I don't know.
How does this werewolf work? That doesn't make sense, because if they have to do it that night, then why would werewolves even be a thing? Because if you get bit, you bit. It usually takes some time for that to like settle in. Anyway, it's
right,
not
and like werewolves don't. I mean, I guess they can kill you.
Yeah, I mean they do a lot. Let's re-listen to our werewolf.
Let's noodle
episode.
on that.
Yeah, let's noodle on it. But there's a scuffle. Now the director is trying to kill Marty because she's just like, whatever we can do. But they're saved at the last minute by
Patience Buckner.
Yeah, who we saw. I love this shot, by the way. Earlier in the movie, after the chaos, after the purge happens, there's a scene where like the last elevator door opens. It's kind of a calm moment. All of the creatures have left the room, and you just see Patience stumble out of the elevator and look around, and like there's nothing around. She's just all by herself. And so you see that earlier. Now she's like made her way all the way here, and she hacks into the brain
of Sigourney Weaver.
Sigourney Weaver. She's dead.
Yep. And they both fall over the edge to the Ancient Ones.
Yep. Not enough of a sacrifice, I guess. Because again, like, I know
the amount of people that died, but they have to be part
these
of the
people.
story. Yeah.
Right. But it's just like so many people die every day.
But it has to be in the certain way.
Right.
It has to be in a fearful, type situation.
And
it
I
has to
always-
be in this order, and
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. Because they say like the virgin can live as long as she suffered.
So like what would work here? Because if the director were able to kill Marty, the movie acts like that would be good enough. Or if Dana were to do it, like that would suffice.
Because they suffered.
Right. But if they earlier were traveling through the tunnel that didn't blow, and they blew it just a second later and the entire RV crumbled and killed all three of them, Kurt, Holden, Dana.
I don't think it would have worked because Marty would have still been alive.
Yeah, Marty is still alive. That's a detail. But assuming that he had died, would that have worked if all of them had just died like that?
I guess.
I don't think it would, because then just like they could just
blow people up.
They could be like, here's our characters.
It's like cleansing the world of this sin.
Yeah, they have to transgress to be punished for it.
Big stoner, like he's the one that has to go.
Right.
So like that's what it is. So they're sitting there, bloody as hell.
Yeah, they kill the werewolf, and so it's just the two
They
of them.
didn't kill it. It ran away.
Okay, it ran off. It was just like, I'm bored.
Well, it got shot at by Marty.
Yeah. So it's just the two of them now, and they're just
like,
they're like,
sorry,
well,
the world's gonna end.
Yeah, they're like, I guess the world's gonna end in like 2 minutes, and they just kind of have this moment, which I really love this beat in the movie.
Oh yeah, because the whole audience is just like, no,
they're not gonna do it.
No,
like she's
it
gonna
will really die.
like last minute she's gonna shoot him in the head,
or just
or something.
like something will change.
Yeah, or it's all a lie and they won't like it's not gonna happen.
Right.
Surely. Guess what?
It do. It friggin' do.
It dang diddly do.
Yeah.
Because the very last shot of the movie is this massive ancient hand blasting out of the earth and crushing right down into the camera.
And the world.
And
that's it. Everybody died.
The movie ends. That's the end of the movie. Now, Cabin in the Woods 2.
Stop. What if there was?
I can't imagine. Unless they just completely do a thing where completely new story. But I mean,
I don't even bother.
Yeah, the whole gimmick is the surprise of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it. And it's such a shocking movie, such a great movie. Just the twists, the turns, the commentary. It's all there.
The comedy, the darkness of it.
Oh yeah,
it's all really, really good.
Yeah, it's a funny movie too.
And scary.
Oh,
those zombies are scary.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, I'm scared of them.
Okay, good.
For sure. Speaking of being scared, let's play a game.
Oh, okay. Great.
Let's play a game of Would You Rather.
Oh.
Since you get to pick what you want
okay.
in the cabin in the woods for it to kill you.
Yeah.
Let's play Would You Rather.
Let's do it.
Okay. So
there is a horror movie called Would You Rather.
Oh, I guess I didn't know that.
I guess I didn't know.
I guess we'll be watching that.
Maybe.
One season. Okay.
In a future season.
Yeah. So, would you rather be killed by a werewolf or a vampire?
Ooh. Which werewolf and which vampire?
It just says werewolf and vampire. So presumably the werewolf from Cabin in the Woods.
Okay.
And a vampire.
What vampire? It depends on the vampire.
You know what? Now that I say this specific one, like we were discussing earlier, do you die or do you become a vampire or a werewolf?
Because I think I would rather turn into a vampire, but that's not the question.
Right. Would you rather die? Okay. I'll say they're both attacking you. Which one would you rather die from?
Okay. If it's Taylor Lautner, then the werewolf.
That's not what I said.
If it's not Taylor Lautner, then the vampire, but unless it's Edward. If it's Edward, then not the vampire, but if it's Taylor Lautner, then the werewolf.
Okay, so in this text, you'd rather have a vampire because it's neither of those people.
Okay, no, I want the werewolf.
You want the werewolf no matter what.
Yeah, basically. I think I want the werewolf no matter what.
Okay, I choose the vampire.
Oh, great!
because
how does a vampire kill people? Just drinks their blood.
Yeah, it drains your blood.
Oh, I guess that'd be better than being eviscerated by a wild beast.
That's what I think.
Okay.
No, you already chose your answer.
Yeah, I guess I'm locked in.
Okay, our next ones.
Yeah.
Are the sexy witches, which we don't really ever see.
I know my answer.
Or Kevin.
Oh, Kevin. Oh, my God. Well, Kevin has that mystery to him. Like, you don't know. Kevin's a bad boy. You don't know what he's about. But anything with sexy in it, I got to pick. I'm sorry.
I'm going to pick Kevin. Because I just presume... Kevin? No. Oh, okay. I just presume that it's Kevin Williamson.
All right.
And then I can ask him a bunch of questions as he's killing me.
Well, I feel like you're not going to appreciate the fruits of that knowledge.
Meh.
I'm going to get killed by those sexy witches. You know what I'm saying?
Of course. You're such a boy.
What do you mean? What's next?
Would you rather be killed by the Hell Lord or the Sugar Plum Fairy?
Ooh, okay. So here we have ourselves the classic C-3PO R2-D2 combination. You got the tall, silent type, and you got the short, silent type.
Mm-hmm.
The Hell Lord has the pain of bondage and torture, which I gotta say.
Oh my God! Why do you have to make this everything?
This one's tough because one of them has a face for a mouth for a face, and the other one has a sphere. I don't know which one's scarier.
Are you sure it's a sphere, not a cube?
I don't know. I'm not sure of anything anymore. I feel like when I first saw this movie, I was very creeped out by the Sugar Plum Fairy. I was like, ooh, that's really scary.
You were.
And nowadays, I'm just not scared of anything, so it's whatever. I guess I would rather be killed by the Hell Lord because he looks cool.
I just... the Sugar Plum Fairy is very much like Samara.
Yeah.
And I would not want that.
Yeah, that'd be scary.
So
I don't know how these people would kill you. I've never seen Hellraiser.
Me neither. So we'll get to it one year.
Yeah, maybe that'll be a future episode. But maybe that would impact how we feel about this. I feel like it's very torture-y and not great. But I don't know how the Sugar Plum Fairy flows either. So
right. Okay, next ones. Mm-hmm. Okay, the doctors or the dolls, and the dolls being those like the strangers.
Oh, well,
both of these are terrible.
Yeah, I gotta say. Again, from a things don't really scare me perspective, I find the strangers to not be scary in any way. So the dolls, I mean,
but
yeah,
because you see it on screen.
Yeah.
They douse you in
gasoline
that's
true.
And set you on fire.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
So basically, would you rather be like torn open or burned to death?
Well, I guess you never really see what's under those masks. They could be sexy.
Oh my God!
Dolls, you know what
stop!
I don't
like this.
I gotta say the dolls. They're just to me not very scary. Yeah, being burned to death, not a great way to go. But
I think rather choose the doctors because even though I don't like torture, burning to death is like.
But
bad. I don't want to ever experience or hear about that. Like when I hear about people like getting in car crashes and the car catches on fire and they die, I'm like, no.
It's rough for sure. We don't know that that's the only way they kill people.
We don't, but
I feel like the doctors have a shtick.
Yeah.
they do something, whereas the dolls, they could just be like do whatever, and that's just what they do. But you're locked in, and I'm locked in.
Okay. Last one.
Okay.
Would you rather
I'm ready.
be killed by the merman or the unicorn?
Oh, no. I thought you were going to say the merman or Dana in a hallway.
That would have been a good one. I'd rather be killed by Dana.
Right. Well, the unicorn is my answer. So I'll say that. Because then he gets stabbed.
The merman is scary.
Yeah, the merman, I don't know what's happening with it, because like he hovers over his body and then chows down and you don't really see what's going on. That'd be really scary. And
That's very shark-like and I don't like it.
Yeah, it's very shark-like. I don't like that. Yeah, unicorn would be cool because you see a unicorn.
Yeah, but I also don't like the piercing.
Right.
Piercing is not my jam.
I would rather.
This is my jam.
Yeah, I think the best way to go out in this movie would be the way Truman goes out, just to explode, and you're immediately just like boom, gone. Like you don't have to worry about anything.
I agree.
Probably
Or that
the
lady who
best.
shot herself in the head.
Probably.
Yeah.
Although she was going through a lot of stuff there.
Yeah. Okay. My second game that we're gonna play
Ooh, another game.
is Who Are You? Are you the whore, the athlete, the scholar, the fool, or the virgin?
I'm all of those things.
You are kind of.
I'm all of those things and none of those things at the same time.
You're not an athlete.
Listen,
I can tell you that.
Listen, I don't come onto your show and slander you in this way.
You don't.
I guess this is your
Only
show
all the time.
Yeah, and I guess
Yeah.
I do that all the time. I would say honestly, if there's one that I fit in the most with, that I identify the most with, it's probably the stoner. Even though I've never smoked weed a day in my life.
I agree with that. I think you're somewhere between the scholar and the fool.
Hell yeah.
It depends on what company we keep.
That's true. Who I'm around.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you?
I mean, what do you think?
I mean, again, I think you're kind of like all of them in a way. I wouldn't
think I'm
necessarily.
athletic.
Kind of. I mean, we go to the gym a lot.
That's true.
But you're probably more like the scholar type, even though you're not like
I don't wear glasses.
right. You're not like a nerd, I wouldn't say,
Yeah.
but you're very knowledgeable. And you know, I guess that'd be the one that is.
Well, that was very nice of you to say.
It's really hard to say, just because like you don't really fit into any of those that neatly.
I would say the virgin.
Yeah.
Like that, I would say that's what I personify them.
demure.
I am. And I'm very modest.
Yeah, but you're not like a prude.
I'm not
say.
a prude about it for
Yeah.
sure. I'm a Dana virgin,
Yeah.
like where it's like you work with what you have. But like compared to my like friends,
Yeah.
like
Call them out. What are they like?
some of them are crazy and some of them are not. Like I
Right.
don't know what you want me like. I am often the oh God, what do I want to say? I am often the innocent one.
Okay, yeah. I get what you're saying. Now, the real question is, which Sex and the City character are you? I'm a Miranda. 100%.
I'm definitely a Charlotte.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so we good there.
Yeah, we're good.
All right.
This was fun.
This was fun.
Wow.
Now,
Do we want to talk about what makes it scary?
Sure. Is there anything?
Well, so we talked in Scream a lot about what makes it scary, but that was very different because this movie is doing a lot of similar things to Scream, but also a lot of different things than Scream.
Yeah. Well, first of all, our characters have no control over it.
Right, for sure.
Which, of course, that's a whole thing about being scary is you don't have any control.
Yeah, the conspiracy angle of this movie is a big thing because, you know, your life is not your own. You're not in control of your life, which I think a lot of people kind of have these feelings.
Oh, yeah, especially nowadays.
Yeah, and I don't mean literally in a Truman Show style way where everything is controlled, but just like, you know, we all have to go to work. We all have to like dress up in relatively similar clothing, and we all have to abide by these like
Social norms,
right?
yeah.
These standards. And I think this is a great thing for movies to play off of is this kind of conspiratorial, like everything is being controlled. And this movie does that. Now, not as much as it does some of its other things, like you have the Buckners, which are just very classic. They're scary. They're intimidating. They just inflict pain. They love to. They worship pain. They just want to hurt you,
Right.
and kill you. And they're coming for you. They're silent. They have no like thoughts or emotions. They just want.
Very much Jason,
Yep.
Michael Myers.
They're like a beast. Yeah, and that's very scary. Like the body horror that happens in this movie that they don't linger on too long, but it's definitely there. Like when they are throwing these bear claws around, like that's. All this stuff is horrifying.
Bear traps, not bear claws.
Right. A bear claw is a delicious thing. I would love to have thrown at me.
Yes.
Please do. And yeah, it's hard to talk about because this movie is so
Commenting on it.
yeah, it's so subversive in terms of what it's doing. But You also have the apocalyptic angle at the end where, if we don't do this thing, the series of
the whole world as we know it,
everything, and everybody dies. But they don't even say, it's not even that everyone will die and it's just the end of the world. They're literally, the Ancient Ones will rise and inflict like torture and pain on the entire world. So it's not even like they're just going to kill everyone. It's like they're going to wreak havoc. They're going to
hell.
Yeah, essentially, they're just gonna inflict hell, which is very scary. And I love the idea of this in a movie, by the way, where like they're doing something so big and apocalyptic as just like a threat if like the rest of the movie doesn't happen. It's like, it's not just, hey, we need to do this because we just have to. It's like, if you don't, the biblical apocalypse will happen. That's very cool and very scary.
It's very scary thinking about it.
Yeah.
Especially because neither one of us is super religious.
Right.
So like, we'd be fucked.
Yeah.
Nobody is saving us.
We'd be like, oops, sorry.
Yeah.
What else? I'm trying to think, is there any angle it's scary when a movie is like very meta and commenting on like itself?
Here's the theory behind it all.
Yeah.
It is said that at the end of the day, we, the audience, are the Ancient Ones.
Yes, you're
and
absolutely right.
The more I watch this movie, the more I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah.
We as horror fans demand these certain rules.
That's the meta aspect of this movie is the audience that's being appeased is literally us.
We have to have we have to have the boobs, and we have to have
the blood and the violence.
And we have to have the funny one, and we have to have logic, and just and the hunky one. Like, we have to have all of these things.
Hell yeah, you do. You need these things, otherwise like the audience will get upset and will rise against you, which it's something that we see. This movie is just like Inception in that it's about let me tell you, I have a theory about all this. It's about movies. It's about movie making, and it's about like
absolutely.
Right. You have literally the director who controls everything, and then you have each department that's in charge of like, hey, you're the one who controls the sound,
lighting,
and you're the special effects, and you're like the chemist. And so you have all these different kind of aspects coming together to make this thing happen that has to follow these rules so that the audience will be appeased. And
it goes down to like even such a minute detail of like Dana at one point has a knife and she stabs one of the zombies, and then one of the facility guys,
Citizen,
like clicks a button and that knife is electrocuted out of her hand.
Right.
Why does that happen? Because in horror movies, someone will use a weapon once and drop it.
Right, and leave it behind.
Never use it again.
So frustrating.
It's so frustrating. Yeah, as an audience member.
Yeah.
But that's what also makes the movie. It's like, of course she's going to drop that. Of course she's going to run upstairs. Of course.
They're going to make the bad decision, or they're going to do something wrong.
Right. I simply would not.
I would simply
go to the
kill
cabin.
all the zombies.
Yeah. It's
right. For sure. So that's what makes it scary. And that's what makes it scary.
Season 3.
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you, what was like your favorite movie that we watched this season?
Well, I had a lot of fun watching Frankenstein because I love those old, like watching the old ones. But there was a lot of really good ones. The Purge was fun because like I mentioned at the top, like each movie I hate watching because they're so similar and boring, but I love the idea of them and I love a lot of the stuff.
Right.
So that was fun. There was a lot of, I liked doing The Ring too.
Oh, I hated doing that. I'm glad it's over, and I'm glad I never have to watch those movies again.
Can I just say all of them?
I'm going to say, like, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978, was like,
that was a great
one of
movie.
my favorite movies that we watched. Also, visiting, like, the facility, like, the faculty.
Right.
I almost said the facility.
Yeah.
Like, reaching back into my brain and like watching that was really awesome. Yeah,
I had
from the Black Lagoon, Shape of Water. Like,
I had a lot of
great.
Right. I had a lot of fun watching Signs. I know it's like a terrible movie, but it was so much fun to watch. And then that reminds me of all of our worst horror movies and like Birdemic.
Oh my God, or like Orgy of the Dead. Remember watching that?
Yes.
And we were just like, what the fuck?
What a fever dream of a movie that was.
Yeah. Or even like as recent as like reminiscing of my favorite movies, which is shark movies.
Right,
like,
Jaws and The Meg, those are fun. It's been a great season.
It's been awesome. I hope you, as the audience members, have enjoyed it and will not rise up against us.
Right. Did we follow all the rules?
Yeah.
Doubt it.
Yeah, probably not. Because I make my own rules.
That's right. Play by the beat of my own drum.
That's right.
Like a doll's drum.
Oh, God, no. And that's it.
Oh, no. I don't want it to end. I don't want it to end.
I kind of do.
I do want it to end, but I don't. It's bittersweet.
We have other things that we need to be doing.
That's right.
Like our other podcast.
Yes.
A wedding to prepare
Yes.
for.
We're getting married.
Yes, we are getting married.
And we're super gonna do it this time.
Yeah, no fake outs.
I know we said last time.
that we were going to do it, but no, we're
No,
actually going to
doing
do it this
yeah.
time.
So shut up about
So
it.
stay tuned on
Yeah.
how that went.
And then next season, we're gonna be back and badder than ever.
And it'll be here before you know it,
It
guys.
really will.
Until then, we have a million other episodes for you to watch. I think like 21. How many episodes do we have? Like 9 times
27,
3?
28 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. You have tons of episodes to go and listen to.
Yeah. Please do.
Yeah.
And
Rate and review.
we'll be here
Share
waiting
us with
for
your
you.
friends.
Mm-hmm.
And never stop watching horror movies.
Yeah, they're great.
All right. If you want to tweet at me during the year just how much you miss me or a new movie that you found that maybe I've never seen before,
Yeah.
tweet at me at CleverGirl, the letter F and the letter X. That's CleverGirlFX.
If you want to tweet at me your conspiracy theories about how they're all watching us and running the world, you can do that at Mr. spell out the long way, Red Plays, at Mr. Red Plays.
And you can always tweet the show at Makes It Scary.
Please do. I'm sorry that I had a really bad podcast and then ended the world. Is that it?
That's it. We're done.
Woo!